I'm Brenda Earl-Stokes, the owner and creator of Piano and Voice with Brenda. Creative, practical tools that I share here online. Today is Motivation Monday again, and I'm filming this on a miserable Sunday. It's very drizzly out there here in New York City. And today I wanted to talk about something that is sort of a non-stop topic amongst musicians and aspiring musicians, and that is practicing. And one of the big questions that always gets posed to me is, well, what am I supposed to practice? How do I practice? What should I practice? And, you know, if you're watching this, you've probably either heard that question a million times or asked that question a million times. And so what I wanted to talk about just briefly is how to decide what to practice, how to practice, and all that kind of stuff. So first of all, the best thing that you can do, the optimal thing that you can do is practice every day. And the thing about practicing, though, is you don't have to practice hours every day in order to be able to still get something done. And I think one of the issues that comes up a lot with practicing is people say, well, I don't have an hour to practice, so I'm just going to skip it today. I only have 15 minutes to practice. And what I want to really, put emphasis on is the fact that it's better for you to practice every day, even for a short period of time, than it is for you to practice a few times a week for a longer period of time. So what you want to do is, even if it's only 15 or 20 minutes, it's better to practice every day. There's a lot of reasons for that. From the technical point of view, if you want to build technique and mastery of skills, it's better to do little bursts of time on that rather than try to get it done, because if you're doing anything technical, that really does take time to establish. And also, if you want to learn something, even if you just touch on it a little bit, it's going to make a difference in helping you to retain that information. So first of all, that's the best thing that you can do. Okay? So now thinking about, well, what should you be practicing? First of all, as I said a minute ago with practicing every day, when it comes to technical work has to be done every day. So if you're doing finger exercises on piano, if you're doing your vocal exercises to train your voice, if you're doing long tones as a saxophone player, all of those kinds of things, that really has to be prioritized as something that you do every day. But you don't have to do that for hours every day either. So one of the best pieces of advice I heard was from the great jazz pianist Oliver Jones, who gave a workshop. I think I was like 16 when I went to this workshop, and it really impacted the way that I looked at practicing. And he was really of this same mindset that I'm sharing with you, of you have to practice every day. And what he said, though, is if you usually practice 3 hours a day and then you only have 30 minutes for one day, then what you do is you practice what you would practice in the 3-hour period and just do, instead of an hour on each thing, do 10 minutes on each thing. So that's really how I've structured my practice for a lot of years. Actually, most of my performing professional life, that's how I've structured my practice, is to make sure I'm touching on things. So as I said, the technical thing needs to happen every day. And if you're used to doing, let's say, 30 minutes of technical work every day, and then you end up with a day where you don't have a lot of time to practice, could you do a truncated period of technical work instead? Could you just do a simple vocal exercise, like just a vocal warm-up, and then maybe just work on your head register? As a pianist, instead of practicing your patterns in a bunch of different keys, maybe you could just stick to 2 keys and try to get through them. Sort of a way to structure your practice. So that's the way I approach the technical work. Okay, so now, what do you do the rest of the time, right? The $1 million question. And what I'm going to say really relates back to what I was talking about a couple of weeks in this draw a straight line talk I had. I think that was 2 weeks ago. And what I said in that video was drawing a straight line means trying to establish what it is that you are trying to accomplish and then putting most of your effort on that. And so to decide what you're going to do with the rest of the time, you want to decide what is it that you want to accomplish? You make your big goals. Your big goal might be, I want to accompany myself on piano by September. I want to be able to accompany myself on all these songs. Or maybe your goal is that you can read a fake book, or that you can play your chords in all 12 keys. Those are some of the goals. And so what you want to do for a bulk of your practice time, maybe the largest amount of your practice time, would be doing what you need to do to work on that goal. Okay, so let's say you have an hour to practice. You spend, let's say, 15 minutes on technical work. Maybe you spend 30 or 35 minutes practicing on whatever that is. So if you're taking piano skills for singers, maybe that means that you're going to work on the pop accompaniment strategy. If you're doing the improv work, maybe that's when you would go into practicing your pop chords in all 12 keys. Those would be ideas. If you're in a point where you're trying to learn a lot of songs, maybe that would be the time that you would play a song in a bunch of different keys, or you would be practicing playing the melody accurately or doing some counting. Those are all some ideas, but you want to spend the bulk of your time practicing whatever it is that needs the most work. Let's say you have a recital coming up or a performance, or you're singing or performing somewhere, then maybe you would take that time to really, really work on the repertoire. Okay? And so that's going to be the bulk of your practice time, is that work where you're really trying to move the needle, or what I call kicking the can down the road. You're trying to just get it a little further down. And then for the last little bit of your practice session, I really strongly recommend that everybody spend at least some of their practice time just playing and being creative. And that means just playing something that feels good. So if you're working on particular songs, maybe at that point you would just perform them. You would just play them. Or that would be the time to do something creative, like do some improvisation, or this is where you would play through a song that's more familiar. Some time where you can really touch base with your muse and find something that feels extremely enjoyable and motivating, and something that just feels good. So many of us, when we're practicing, it's like, where I'm practicing, it's gotta, I've got to be working. And we kind of miss the whole point of, like, why are we doing this to begin with? It's because we love music and we want to make music and we want to feel creative. And so what I really encourage everybody to do is to make sure that some of your practice time is really devoted to that. For my jazz piano students, I always say, like, once you've finished practicing the voicings, the comping figures, the improv patterns, make sure you just turn on either the iReal Pro or another app like that, or maybe you just play. Like, just play a couple of tunes and allow yourself to kind of stretch out creatively. So that would be how I would organize the time. Let's say you spend 25% of your time on technical work. Maybe you spend 50 to 60% of your time working on, the bulk of what you're working on, kind of what I call it the body of the work. And then you spend the last little bit of time, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes, just freely playing music so that you can be in touch with that kind of side of the music, okay? The other couple of things that I would say that you could add on to this, for a lot of us, sight reading is something, and if you want to improve your sight reading, you really have to do it every day. So if you're in a point where you need to really develop your sight reading, then I would say spend 5 or 10 minutes a day doing some sight reading. So make sure you have your whatever book you're using. I mean, with sight reading, you can do whatever. Grab it, do a page, do a half a page, do 4 bars, do 3 pages, however, 10 minutes or 5 minutes of sight reading would take you. That's something to add in every day. And for singers, this would be the time where you would want to dig in and do some solfege work, some ear training, some sight singing for yourself. Because again, that's a very slow moving process and it's something you want to do every day. So here's my practice tips for you. The first thing is you want to practice every day, no matter what, even if that period of time is going to be shorter than usual. And you want to cover as many of your usual topics, even if you're in a truncated period of time. So that's the first thing. And how you structure your time is you have to do technical work every day, because that is whenever we're working with the physical body, we need time every day to work on that. And you would spend maybe 25% of your time working on technique. And then you would spend 50 to 60 or 70% of your time working on the body of the work that you're working on. So learning songs, working on improvisation patterns, transcriptions, anything that is really pertaining to what your big goals are. And then you would save a little bit of time at the end of the lesson to make sure that you're playing music and you're making music just because. And then adding in a little bit of sight reading every day right at the end too. So I hope this information has been helpful. I would love to know how you structure your practice time and what works for you. So you can leave that down below. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned this week. I have 2 really great videos coming out. My Random Songs I Like is coming out tomorrow on Tuesday, and on Thursday is a brand new tutorial all about sight reading. So I hope you'll check all that out. Thanks for watching.